Thanks for joining us. I'm Shannon Kantner. Here at Hawk Island, you can see the people behind me definitely consider this weather a blessing. During the investigation, state police uncovered a marijuana grow operation. More than 30 plants recovered right here and others that burned. It happened right here. Michelle was waiting for the fireworks show to begin. This could mean speed limits rising to 75 or 80 miles per hour on some freeway stretches. Buying your ticket online means you don't have to wait in line and hand over that cash. Credit, debit, and PayPal are all possibilities for payment. To give you a little perspective, I'm 5'4", depending on whether I'm wearing heels, and I come up just to Brock's armpit, and he's just gonna keep growing. More than 400 tips at this point led the task force to 2 suspects. I've heard a lot of that go green, go white today, but I think it's gonna switch to go blue pretty soon here as the Wolverines file in. Using an Olympian to sell a product is one of the best ways to cut through all the clutter out there. Shame to the legislature as they try to walk into the building on this sidewalk. The main topic tonight is protesting the right to work legislation. Meet Astro. He's actually the reason all of this happened. Sparrow pulled the product from its shelves October 9th as a precaution. This year, it's a feast of bowl games for Michigan schools. We have wings, bloomin' onions, and pizza to look forward to. The fire from this explosion was so bad it took 3 hoses an hour and a half in order to put it out. You can still smell the stench of smoke in the air. After 2 days of deliberations, the jury has made him a free man. Not a great day to run some errands. I can attest to that. Getting caught in the rain, you never know when it's going to hit, it seems like today.
Yeah, that's right.
Many schools didn't offer so much as popcorn or pizza, but Picture Day is a surefire way to get kids in school. And I was doing some major white knuckle driving. From Lansing to Jackson, the roads got progressively worse, as did the weather. It was down to 1 lane or no lanes without snow throughout most of Jackson. There weren't many people left on the road. There were certainly some salt trucks. And I spoke with the Jackson County Road Commission, who told me this wasn't quite the storm they anticipated.
We didn't think we'd get this much, truthfully. We kept watching radar all morning. Figured we'd be on the north end of it. Came a little bit further north than what we figured it would. You never know what Mother Nature's going to bring.
She brought at least 5 inches of snow to some parts of Jackson, making the roads treacherous no matter how cautious drivers tried to be.
I was slipping and sliding. I was even driving I was doing 15 miles per hour.
And that was after Parker left work around 7 p.m., having missed the worst part of the storm, but the work wasn't done.
I had trouble getting all the snow up off my car. Yeah, it was frosty, and I was scraping and my mirrors and everything.
With no gloves, nonetheless, Parker forgot them at home, but others weren't taking any chances.
Oh, you never know what'll happen. You might end up in the ditch, and I don't want to be cold, so I layered up and got my hat and gloves on and was prepared for the worst.
Much like the Road Commission's fleet, 55 salt trucks covering the roads all day and into the night.
We attacked this storm just like we do any storm.
And that's not always easy. You might feel like those big orange trucks own the road, but sometimes it's the opposite.
They have enough to contend with, so it would be better for our drivers if nobody passed us, but we know they're going to. Give us room to groom.
I just spoke with the Jackson County Sheriff's Office as well. They had 28 accidents today, but mostly just slide-offs into the ditch. Thankfully, no injuries. The condition is called Soto syndrome, Lauren, or cerebral gigantism. It's a gene disorder that had Brock over 3 feet tall by the time he was just 2 months old. Now he's a teenager that spends his days in and out of doctor's appointments and constantly ducking under doorways.
I'm 7'5", 330 pounds.
And he told me it's cool to be that tall.
I can dunk it. It's definitely a good feeling to be tall.
But not always. The teenager doesn't fit in his own bed, and his feet are bigger than Shaq's.
They're like clown shoes to me.
There's a lot of things that are hard, like finding shoes for him, finding clothes. We live in a trailer, so that's really hard for him. He's always ducking.
And even though Brock can dunk and Nike made him one-of-a-kind size 24 kicks, he can't play on any team. His gene disorder makes him too weak and out of breath. Now, after a month's stay in the hospital for heart problems, the community wants to help out their gentle giant.
We miss his laughter. We miss him being a part of our group. So the kids really look up to him, no pun intended.
To give you a little perspective, I'm 5'4", depending on whether I'm wearing heels, and I come up just to Brock's armpit, and he's just going to keep growing.
There is no medications, nothing to stop him growing. They thought maybe if it was hormones or, hormone medicine, they could, slow him down, but There's no way.
Doctors estimate he'll get to at least 8 feet, and that means plenty of more special clothes and doctor's visits. So the school has stepped in to raise money. Students started We Support Brock on Facebook, and it's even gone global.
There's so many people right now that want to do the different fundraising.
All the kids have really come to love Brock. They really have.
Brock and his mom feel the same way.
Never had so much support in my life.
I love them all.
But he does want to get one thing straight.
I like being called the Hawk.
Well, Jason, they're moving pretty quickly. As you can see here behind me, that used to be at least a 10-foot wide hole. And restoration crews were out here all day getting it boarded up like you see there. Church members are in shock, but trying to stay positive. They tell me they're praying for the driver and working together to get their chapel fixed.
It looks horrendous.
Pastor Melvin Jones and several church members were on the scene as soon as they heard the news.
Brought tears to my eyes when we looked through the door. That's the pew area where we sit on Sunday mornings.
Now most of those pews are destroyed. The small chapel is where the church holds early morning and youth services, Bible studies, and even weddings.
It was very fortunate that we didn't have anyone in the building at the time.
Charles Green got the call from the security company around 3:30 a.m. and he tells me it's not the first time there's been a major crash near the church, but he never expected to see a vehicle actually in the chapel.
We are obviously going to consider putting up some barriers around here now. Cars have, missed this turn and ran into the tree or the light pole over here, but we've never had anything actually hit the church building before.
City engineers say it could have been much worse. After inspecting the damage, it appears the vehicle missed the major steel beams, so the structural concerns aren't limited to just that wall of the chapel. And law enforcement say it also could have been even worse for the driver.
The thing is, he was quickly accessed, quickly removed, and quickly transported to the hospital.
And now everyone at the church is more focused on his condition rather than the condition of their chapel.
This is really just a building. That can be fixed. I just hope that this young man can be fixed.
The man did suffer life-threatening injuries. Lansing police tell me it could be a few days until they know exactly what happened here and what caused this accident. We narrowed it down to 5 places, Lauren, and they'll probably surprise you. And it's not to scare you, but simply remind us that it can happen to anyone, almost anywhere. As the executive director at the Women's Center of Greater Lansing, Cindy Allwood sometimes works long hours alone.
It was probably 8 o'clock at night, and some guy was across the street this way and saw me come out the door and immediately came across Michigan Avenue and started talking very fast.
Cindy's arms were full, and the man tried to get between her and the car, but she talked him down.
It turned out okay. It did. After he was gone, I was a little shaky. I don't feel unsafe here. I feel very secure, and I'm not worried about going in and out at night or anything.
There's a harsh reality that crime experts need women to face, though.
The fact of the matter is crime does happen throughout the day, whether it's dark, whether it's early in the morning, or whether it's noontime.
And it happens where you might least expect it, even though we're actually the most vulnerable there. Which leads us to our first location. Parking lots, like at work or leaving a store.
They come out and their hands may be completely full. Let's face it, sometimes people consider women easier targets.
That makes parking lots an easy place for women to fall victim to a large van parked too close, or a scam at your own car.
Well, people have placed things on the windshield to get your attention. Sometimes when we're about to get in our vehicle, we'll see something on the windshield and we'll say, oh, what is that? We'll get back out and we'll start reading it.
In that case, go somewhere else to remove it from your windshield. Don't hang around and read it in the parking lot. The same goes for checking your makeup, brushing your hair, or answering a text. It gives criminals an opportunity to approach your car. Experts say just let it wait until you're home.
Most people have been known to approach an intersection and try to gain entry to your vehicle. And that's why we recommend that the vehicle's always locked.
But what if you're not the one driving? Taxis aren't just for big cities. Gary Marshall owns Dee Dee's Taxi here in Lansing, and he tells me it's young women who use cabs most on the weekends, usually after a trip to the bar.
If you call one company and another company pulls up and says, oh yes, we work together or we're with them, don't do it.
Intoxicated or not, using a taxi means putting all your trust in that driver. He recommends calling someone on the trip home. But if you're walking, phones can also be a distraction on the streets you know best.
If you show signs of weakness or whatever, sometimes the criminals will prey on you.
Because criminals pay attention when you're not.
They walk the same areas, and they, whether it's a residence going to work or school or whatnot, and just becoming a little bit too familiar with the area.
Including the place we feel most comfortable. Your own home.
Sometimes we have a tendency to get complacent once we get home. It's our place of solitude, it's our refuge, and as well as.
But open windows and unlocked doors are an invitation to criminals, who also might try to draw you outside with a suspicious noise, something Cindy won't let happen now.
We're not in the 1950s anymore. If you're out in the world and not paying attention to your surroundings, you are putting yourself at risk.
If you're surprised by those 5 locations, you're not alone. I couldn't believe most of the things the state trooper told me at first. If you do feel threatened, the state trooper told me you should always make a scene. He said yelling fire is totally acceptable in those situations.
So what if someone is able to get into your car? What do you do then?
The trooper said if you're driving, don't be afraid to cause an accident, Lauren. I know that sounds scary, but it only needs to be a minor one, and the airbag should save you. If you stay in the car with a criminal, you don't know what will happen. Some self-defense can also come in handy. We'll have more in-depth tips on how to protect yourself in these places tonight on News 10 at 11.
Women don't need to be afraid all their life. Girls are special.
He can't protect us all, but he can teach us how to protect ourselves.
I like that one.
Yeah.
In Lansing, Shannon Kantner, News 10.